Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the different types of democratic government systems. We have the presidential democratic system and a parliamentary style democratic system. And we're going to have to know both for the AP exam. Let's first of all understand that just because a country has a president or a prime minister does not imply that there is a democracy. So we have Ibrahim Raisi, who is a president in Iran. We have Xi Jinping, president of China, and Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. They are all three clearly not democratic systems. So do not get caught up in titles like that. It doesn't automatically mean having a president or a prime minister creates a democratic system. Let's review some of the issues regarding the branches and what each branch of government does in a democracy. Legislative branch is has to do with the lawmaking bodies. These are going to be things like Congress, Parliament, or an assembly. Okay, these are groups of people that get together and make laws. On your executive branch, you're going to have a president or a prime minister. They're going to be head of government and or the head of state. Often in a presidential style system, the president is actually going to be both. And then when you have a parliamentary style government, sometimes it's going to be independent. Just to let you know, remember, the head of government actually runs the government day to day operations, and the head of state is the ceremonial leader of the state. The final branch of government is the judicial branch, where you have the independent courts. And usually in a democracy, these are going to be Supreme Court. It's going to be the top court of the land. All right. Now, let's talk about parliamentary systems, shall we? First of all, every democratic system starts with voters, and those voters are going to cast a vote in a parliamentary system. Who are they going to vote for? They're going to elect parliament, the legislative branch of government. Usually in a parliamentary system, these people that are in parliament are known as MPs, members of parliament. Okay. Now, then you have your prime minister, which is chosen by the majority party within this parliament. Okay, and then the prime minister, of course, is going to be the head of government. Parliament also appoints the judicial branch traditionally. So then, of course, the parliament is really in any kind of parliamentary system. The parliament is the head. You want to make sure that you win your parliamentary elections. Now, you will see parliamentary style governments in Russia. It is a hybrid style, which we will look at when we look at Russia. And remember, Russia's not a democracy anyway, but you got to kind of know the structure of the government. And of course, the United Kingdom has a parliamentary style government. So when we talk about parliamentary style governments, we really focus on the United Kingdom. Okay. Now, in 2010, you had an election for the House of Commons that kind of got weird. You have David Cameron, who was a conservative, a Tory, and then you had your deputy prime minister, kind of like almost like the vice president, but has no real power, Nick Clegg from the Liberal Democrats. Well, what actually happened here? Well, to win in Parliament, you must have 50% plus one to be a majority. And what happens if you don't have 50% plus one? You got to go around to other parties and try to get that 50%. So in 2010, the Conservatives had 36%. Liberal Democrats had 23%, Labor had 29%, and you had a bunch of the smaller parties had almost 12%. So what the Conservatives did is that they came over here and offered Liberal Democrats some. The Labor did the same thing. And eventually, the Liberal Democrats said, you know what? We're going to get our policies passed more likely if we side with the Conservatives, thus putting them over 50%, of course. And eventually in 2010, they win the House of Commons and control the British government. And that is called a coalition. Okay. So um, when we start mixing in, unofficial, this is not a branch of government, these are parts of the executive. You also have what's known as the cabinet, and the cabinet is usually the closest advisors to the prime minister in a parliamentary system or the president in a presidential system. Now, in a parliamentary system, cabinet members are actually members of parliament. So, you have your members of parliament here. The prime minister is chosen by the majority party, but the parliament, the majority party, also chooses who's going to be the closest advisors to the prime minister. So that's almost kind of like a little bit of a check on the prime minister. Remember, the cabinet members are there just to make sure the prime minister follows the party line, and you know, hang in there. All right, and so you will see cabinet meetings, and these are actually members of parliament that actually want the prime minister's job probably eventually. Now, how does a bill become a law in a parliamentary system? Pretty simple. A majority party proposes the bill. Remember, this isn't like Congress. The minority party can just complain, and that's it. But the majority party is going to get that bill passed eventually. Bill has to pass both houses of parliament, the House of Commons and the House of Lords in the UK. There is, of course, the suspensive veto that the Lords can delay that bill, but eventually that bill is passing. The final one, and this is really a symbolic formality, is what is called royal assent. It's comparable to when the president actually signs the bill, except the president actually has power. um, the king and queen, this is totally symbolic. There never is a no. They've never just like turned a bill around and said, nah, go, get out of here. The queen is going to sign it, and of course now with King Charles, the king will sign that bill, and then it officially becomes a law. Remember, totally symbolic move. It's basically once that bill passes parliament, it's done. Okay. Now, how do you check the prime minister? How can we get rid of this chief executive? Which remember, in every democratic government, you always want to watch the chief executive. They're the ones that can abuse power the most. Well, number one is by a vote of no confidence. Basically, Parliament, the House of Commons, can vote to remove the prime minister at any time. You just need to have um, enough votes there to call for the no confidence vote in the House of Commons. It is, and again, that's bad news. That means your majority party is telling you you've had it, get out. We don't want you here anymore. So usually a threat of a, a no confidence vote is enough to get you to resign. However, no confidence votes don't always work, and this has happened more recently in the House of Commons in the UK. Number two is the party leadership vote. What if this within the party they actually want to uh, they're not going to actually remove them, but they're going to say like, we you have lost the confidence of the party and we recommend strongly that you resign. Please get out. This is kind of something you might see before a no confidence vote. Is just like, dude, you should really go. Like, we don't like you anymore. Please get out. Usually you will see that like a lot of cabinet ministers will actually resign, and it makes it look really bad of the prime minister. Number three is, of course, the idea of collective responsibility. This doesn't remove the prime minister, but it makes sure the prime minister is following the party line and not going way out in left field and kind of doing their own thing. And finally, prime minister's questions. This occurs every Wednesday in the House of Commons. It is 30 minutes. And basically, the prime minister gets up there and is grilled by the House of Commons, like questions. It's kind of a circus, and we'll be watching one in class, but it's live on television, and so the prime minister has to be like quick on their feet, being able to address issues. And if they don't, the whole public is going to see them. All right. And that is done again once a week, every Wednesday morning. Prime minister's questions for a half an hour. Uh, so that is the structure of a parliamentary style system. Next time, we'll take a look at democratic presidential systems.